On today's show, we're talking Simplify 3D. Stick around. Hey, welcome to the show. My name's Richard Cleveland. I'm your host here 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And today we are diving into Simplify 3D. Now, first, I must tell you that this show is not sponsored by Simplify 3D. I own the software, and I wanted to share with you some of the settings that I use to get the prints that I get when I'm using Simplify 3D, regardless of the machine that you're using. So let's hop over to the computer. We'll load it up, and we will get it going. Okay, so we have Simplify 3D loaded up, and we have already a printer loaded here. But let's first go and see how we can add our printers to our Simplify 3D. All you simply have to do is go over to the Help drop-down menu, and you'll see Configuration Assistant. Once you click on that, it will open up this dialog box, and you can select your printer from a myriad of different printers that are available. And you can see there's quite a few. Creality has now added the CR10, CR10 Mini, Ender 2, 3, and Creality Ender 4. They do not have, at this time, the S4 or S5. And then you've got CreateBot, you've got FlashForge, Picktop, Leapfrog, LulzBot, MakerBot. There's all kinds of printers in here. They have the Raise brand of printers, TiVo, Ultimaker, Wanhao, which, you know, we use a Wanhao i3 and a Wanhao Duplicator 6. They even have the XYZ printers in here. So there is different iterations for XYZ printers based on the firmware that you're using. We already have a printer loaded up here, and this is the Creality CR10. So we're just going to go in and we'll add. And this is how you add a printer. Each process is separate. You can have multiple processes in this software and be able to have all the processes go forward. So if you wanted to add infill at a certain level, you could by adding another process using the same machine. Now, if we just use the CR10, we're going to say no to that. This is the CR10 default setting. All right, so we have our settings open for the process. As you can see here, we are using the Creality CR10. We can update a profile. We can save it as a new profile, or we can remove it. Now, every profile comes with PLA, ABS, PVA, and nylon settings already built into the profile. You also have a couple of different ways of printing. You have a fast, you have a medium, and a high. And I'm going to touch on those in just a second. Now, if we come down here, we can see that we have infill percentage. I should, by the way, show you how this, when you're using this for the first time, how you're going to see it. This is all you're going to see. Very similar to Cura. There's really nothing you can do here. But once you show the advanced and you open up all of the tabs, it's so much easier to manipulate the program. So let's start here with the primary extruder tool head under extruders. So we have a nozzle diameter of 0.40, which is typical. And the extrusion multiplier set at the factory is 0.90. Now, if you want that extrusion multiplier to be a little higher, you can change it here either by highlighting or using the arrow keys. Now, our extrusion width, we can have it set to auto or manual. Now, our extrusion width is 0.40, the same as our nozzle diameter. Now, we're going down here to ooze control, where we can see retraction distance is set to 5.0 by default. You can certainly change that. Extra restart distance, retraction, vertical lift. This is like Z-hop in Cura. and it works exactly the same way. We also have retraction speed. We have coasting distance and wipe distance. Now, you can use these. I don't use them very often. I do with some models and not with others, as it were. So let's move on to the next tab, which is our layers tab. And this is very important because when we are building a model, we want to make sure that we have everything that we need. So in this case, we are at a primary layer height of 0.20. So half the height of our nozzle. Still going to be the same width as our nozzle, but it is half the height. Now, if we go back up to our auto configure for print quality, we have fast, and you can see down here, it's changed that now to 0.3. It's giving us 3 top layers, 3 bottom layers, and 3 outside or perimeter shells. We go back to medium. You can see that we have 4, 4, and 3 for our top, bottom, and outside layers or shells. And if we go into the high, you can see it goes to 0.1. It still retains the top and solid layers. What I will do in this case is I will almost double these. I will bring this up to 8, and I will bring my bottom layers up to 6. Outside direction, so you're going to go from the inside to the outside. So what that means is every time it lays down a line of plastic, it is starting on the inner perimeter and working its way outward. Now let's go over to the first layer settings here for a minute. And you guys have seen me talk about this before. What I like to do is if I'm at this primary height of 0.1, I want this to over extrude by a millimeter. So I'm going to say that I want this at 200% for my first layer. My first layer width, I don't like it that wide. 150 is just a little too wide for me. So I will bring that down to 105%. That way it's still going to stick to the bed. It's going to give you everything that you need. And you're going to get a great first layer. Now, my first layer speed is always 50% of my overall speed, okay? Start points is optimize your start points for fastest printing speed. Now, I can say it to do in perimeters, or pardon me, start points for all perimeters, use a random one. Choose a start point, does not, closest to the specific location. And I can put my X and Y, Z coordinates in there. You can also, while you're in here, you can print islands subsequently without optimization, and you can have a single outline corkscrew print mode, which is a vase mode that you'll find in other programs. Let's go back to that medium detail, which is what you're going to do a lot of models in. Now, here's where things change kind of over here in the first layer settings for me anyway, is I will do this at 150% because I'm only adding 1 millimeter to my overall layer height. So my first layer is going to print at 0.3 millimeters indicated by this 150%. So it is adding 1 millimeter in height to just my first layer. We are still going to keep that at 105% for the width and 50% for the first layer speed. Now let's go into additions here. This is where you are going to put your skirt or your brim on your machine. If you are using a skirt, it is going to put an outline down prior to printing the actual model. And why that is important is because not only does it help to purge your extruder and hot end, but it also makes sure, and you can visually see that all of your bed is level, and secondly, that the filament is coming out of the extruder in a constant stream. It's not broken up or anything like that, or sputtering or spitting. Now you can see that my skirt layers are only 1, so I'm only going to do 1. My offset is 4 millimeters. So this is 4 millimeters away from the actual model. And I always like to have 2 skirt outlines. Now, if I wanted this to be a brim, I would simply change this number in the skirt offset to 0, and I would increase the lines to maybe 12. So I have 12 outlines on those really thin parts. We'll just set that back now. Oh, sometimes it will close on you. Let's go back to those additions. So we're not going to do 12. We're just going to go back to 2 here because I like to use a skirt on everything that I print. Now, down here, you will find your raft settings. So I usually leave these default. I don't change them. And this is when you have extremely small parts and you need something underneath them so that you'll get better bed adhesion. Use a prime pillar. So what this will do is it'll create a pillar and it will prime the nozzle. And you can do ooze shields, and ooze shields are for another topic at a later time. So let's go on to infill. Now, infill, everybody has their own type of, or how much infill they like to use. Personally, I don't like to waste plastic. So 9 times out of 10, if I'm printing a figure, something I'm going to be painting, I only put in 10% infill. I usually use grid as opposed to rectilinear, but you can see there are several different choices that you have here. What's the strongest? That's subjective. I always say grid's the strongest, but full honeycomb is also very strong as well. Experiment with these. Try them out for yourself. Now, the rest of this, I always leave default. I don't change anything here. Support, if you wanted to generate support because you have it overhangs, you certainly could do that here. So the support infill percentage, I don't touch anything here. I leave it all the same. When I am printing, say, a figure model, I will change my max overhang angle to usually 65 degrees. Here's a very important one as well. Under automatic placement, you have normal and build plate platform only. Now, if you are doing it normal, it is going to fill in all of those holes that qualify under your overhang angle. Okay, and I'll demonstrate that a little bit later on. Temperatures are pretty standard. I use 60 degrees on the bed, and I usually don't use 210. I usually use 200 on my extruder. Cooling, I always leave the same for PLA. G-code, I don't really touch anything here. I don't touch anything in my scripts. My speed, as you can see here, is set to 40 millimeters per second. And that is the way that I like to keep that. I don't touch anything in the speed overrides. Don't touch anything over here. And I don't do anything in the advanced tab either. Unless I'm doing something that says that I need to. So for now, there's a quick look at the settings that I use. Let's go ahead and load up a model. All right. So we're going to import a model here. Let's use some of the parts of Galactus here. So we've got Galactus's chest, his arm, and his head, ear 1 and ear 2. So we're loading, and you can select multiple files just by holding down the Control or Shift key when you are loading them in. Now, having a look at this model, you can see there is a ton of stuff here. I am going to play with placement a little bit because I don't like where I've got a lot of detail to be sitting on the bed. So what I'll usually do is I will find something that's very flat, like the plug that goes into the model, and I will put that down on the bed. And we'll use this arm as an example. What you want to do is you want to go up to Edit, bring down that drop-down menu, and say Place Surface on Bed. Now, you'll see nothing happen. That's because you still have an action to do. You can bring your cursor over to the flat point, just click on it, and there you go. It changes the arm. Now, I am going to need support along here. So I will be putting in that support in just a moment. Let's go and do the other arm. Again, we are going to place the surface on the bed. We're going to look at the other arm here, and there we go. Now, you can see we're getting some crossover of other parts. If you want to, just hit center and arrange, and it will rearrange the parts to suit the bed size. Now, I don't really like that arrangement. I think that's kind of uh, ugly, and it's a lot of wasted space up in this corner. So I'm going to take Galactus's head, and if you go up to the right-hand side of the screen, you can see that there is a multi-arrow. If you click that, you can move things around. So we'll put Galactus's head back there. We'll take this ear, and we will take this other ear, and we will move that as well. Now, these ears also have a flat spot, so in order to get a really good adhesion to the bed, I think I'm going to flip these ears as well. I'm going to place the flat section on the bed. There we go. And we'll do that for the other ear as well. By using the scroll wheel, you can zoom in or zoom out. And we'll just go up to edit again, place on surface, find that flat surface. There we go. Now we'll just kind of hit center and arrange, see what it does for us again. Not real happy with that yet. So I'm going to take this piece. I'm going to take this piece as well. And here's a really neat little tip. If you hold down shift, you can select pieces on the build plate. Now we'll go ahead and move them, and this will allow me to move both of them at the same time. And now I can take that head and I can move that as well, move the body over just a little bit. That fills my build plate a little bit better. I can have a look at what is on the ground and what is not on the ground. You can see with the ears of Galactus, they don't make it all the way to the ground. So that's fine. What we're going to do is now we're going to have a look at our support material. Now, we don't have to wait till we prepare this for printing. We can actually go and see exactly where our support material is just by bringing up this support generation dialog box. And where you will find that is right over here on the right-hand side of the screen at the very bottom of this graphical menu. So we're going to generate supports automatically. Now, it generated a lot of support on the body, but there's none on the head. And I might actually change the position of that head. So I'm going to clear all my supports for now. I'm going to go and place that head flat on the bed as well. So it's got a nice flat surface to grab. And I think I'm going to move that around just a little bit more. There we go. All right. So this is not really what I want at 45. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to edit that process again. I'm going to go to my support. And remember where I said it said 45 over here? I'm going to change that to 65. And we'll click OK. Now we can bring up that support generation dialog box again. Generate automatic supports. And there we go. It started to generate supports for us in a greater fashion. Now, here is where this software becomes really powerful. You can go ahead now and have a look at those overhangs. And a single column like this is not very strong. I just want to let you know that. So what I will typically do is I will zoom in on a part. Let's use this part right here for now. By holding down the right mouse button, you can move the screen around and get a better look. Now, I'm going to add some support structure. So when you see that little purple or that little gray icon, you can see that it's now adding support. I can add support as I choose and go ahead and make sure that this is going to be well supported when it is printing. we'll just go around and do that. And we'll do the other one as well. And once we have everything done, then we can come back and get it ready for printing. So I'm going to stop there at the moment. Normally I wouldn't print like this because we have quite steep overhangs here. So I would normally add in more supports for this. So I'm going to say done for the moment. I'm going to zoom back out right down here again on the right side. You can reset that view. You can also reset that view. Let me just zoom in again, and we'll move that around and leave him right where he is. And we will move this around a bit. If you have a scroll wheel that has a click on it, all you have to do is click that scroll wheel and it will reset it back to the default. So for all intents and purposes, we're going to say we're ready to print this. Let's go ahead and prepare for printing. All right, so now we are in the print preview mode, and this is where you'll see a number of different things. We can see that this is going to take 39 hours, 42 minutes, and it is going to use about a third, a little over a third of material to print it. We can begin the print over USB if our printer is connected to our computer, which I don't like to do. I always like to save the toolpath to a disk. Now, some of the features down here, you can preview by line, you can preview by layer. I like to preview by layer a lot of the times. And in this case, we have 721 layers, and you'll find that down in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, this slider right here gives you a look at the build plate. So we're going to zoom in here, and we're going to have a look, and we can see that I didn't put anything on rafts, even though there are quite small areas where we're only going to have like 1-2 pillars. Normally, I would put in a raft there, and it would give me a much better look. But we can hit play, pause, and we can watch it build, which is kind of a neat feature. Or we can, let's pause that. We can move that slider ourselves, and we can see exactly where we might have problems. We can zoom in on it and have a look at the layers and how they're going to be affected. You can see here we have our 3 outer walls. And this here is all of our support material, and that is the pattern in which it will build. But if I look underneath, just like I did before, I can see there's not a lot of support around the Galactus body. So, especially on the bottom. So I want to make sure that I change that, because this bottom plug is not on the bed surface. I am going to change that. So before you commit yourself to saving the toolpath, you can always go back. We're going to remove those supports so we can see what we're doing. Remove the existing support. Oh, no, we're just going to clear all the support. And we'll say done. We're just doing it on this one piece, because if we look from the side, you can see here that it is on an angle. That might look good, but I prefer to always have something large and flat on my build plate. So I'm going to just do this. Pick a triangle. There we go. Now it has pulled it forward, as you can see. So now when we add those supports again, we can say generate supports automatically. You can see we have a lot more support material, especially around here. And we'll say done. And now we can go back to prepare to print. This might take a couple of minutes based on the speed and graphics power of your computer, because this is quite graphic intensive. Initializing the preview data. Reset our, oh, there we go. It was doing an operation. Reset that shot, and it should load up all of our models. And there we go. So all of our models are on there. Everything looks okay. Again, I would do a little bit more support here, and all of these small pillars, I would make sure that I had some sort of raft underneath. So that's pretty much all there is to Simplify 3D. Go ahead, check it out yourself, and try it today if you so choose. I love this program, and it's something that I use as my daily software. So let's get away from the computer, and that's it for Simplify 3D. Well, I hope you learned something from that look at Simplify 3D and the way that I use it in my daily workflow when I'm doing 3D prints. Again, as I said at the top of the show, it's regardless of whatever printer you're using. Simplify 3D has made great strides in including profiles for the most popular printers on the market today. As you saw, we've got the Wanhouse in there. We've also got the Creality line of printers. Admittedly, they still have not added the Ender 3, but they will probably do that very, very soon. Now, I want to thank a few people. First and foremost, let's thank my Patreons. Without you, this show would not exist. So I very much appreciate everything that you guys do and sticking with us with your monthly commitment. Thank you again. We've got more great videos going up to Patreon very, very soon. We are in the midst. I've now finally got Dark Side to where I can throw some more primer on them and get painting. So make sure that if you're not a subscriber or a Patreon person, please go over to patreon.com/thefirstlayer if you want to see all those tutorials that we're starting to do now. Also, if you're not into a monthly commitment and you just like to buy me a coffee, I always love coffee. You can go to buymeacoffee.com and you can show your support for the show that way as well. Really appreciate all that you folks do for me and for the channel. And I also want to thank Frank and Jess, who come in tirelessly once a week each and help us out with the recording and the live streams. Thank you very much to my wonderful team, and Brian Baker, who's been working behind the scenes with us quite a bit as of late. Now, if you are in the market to get yourself something, and again, I'm at home, I'm fidgeting. We're in my home studio. If you are interested in getting Simplify 3D, I'll leave a link in the description down below, and you can go and check it out for yourself. It is a paid program, as I mentioned before, and but it is well worth every penny. So let's thank Spool 3D, even though we're not in our regular location for today's show. We are, I am filming from home. By all means, go check out spool3d.ca. They have everything that you need, from printers, filaments, and all the parts and accessories you could possibly hope for, all in one convenient place. Print it right, print it with spool3d.ca. Well, that's my time for today, so you guys have yourselves a great Monday. We hope to see you back here on Wednesday for our live stream. Remember, the first layer is always your foundation to a great print. Until next time, my friends, have yourselves a great day.